Tomorrow is Friday the 13th, and most people will spend that day holding their breath, avoiding ladders, knocking on wood, waiting for something to go wrong. But here's what they don't know. Tomorrow, at 5:56 in the evening, Eastern Time, the sky will do something it has not done in 2 years. Mars, the planet of fire, of drive, of everything you have been holding back inside yourself, will make exact contact with the north node of the moon, the point that ancient astrologers across every civilization that ever looked upward called the dragon's head, the hunger point, the point of fate. And it will do this on Friday the 13th. That is not a coincidence. That is a signal. If you have felt something building in you over the last week, a pressure you cannot name, an impatience that has no single cause, a restlessness that sleep won't touch, you did not stumble onto this video. Something older than logic brought you here, because what is happening tomorrow in the sky is not just an astronomical event. It is an appointment, and you are already late for it before you press play. Stay here. What I'm about to share with you changes what tomorrow means. In the next few minutes, you are going to discover 3 things. First, the exact astronomical mechanics of what happens tomorrow, what Mars conjunct the North Node actually means, why Friday the 13th is not the unlucky day history told you it was, and why this particular conjunction carries a weight that most people alive today have never felt before. Second, what your body has already been telling you for the last 10 days, and why the symptoms you have been carrying, the ones that have no medical explanation, are not anxiety, they are coordinates. And third, a specific protocol for the 24-hour window of tomorrow that will allow you to move with this energy consciously, instead of being swept away by it without ever knowing what you walked through. This is not a video you found by chance. Something in you recognized the signal before your mind could name it. Let's begin. Before I tell you what is happening in the sky, I want to ask you something. In the last 7 to 10 days, since Mars entered Pisces on March 2nd, have you noticed any of the following? Take a breath. Think back. Honestly, a restlessness that isn't attached to anything specific, not work stress, not relationship tension, not anything you can point to, just a low, persistent hum beneath the surface of every ordinary moment, like a frequency your body is picking up that your mind hasn't tuned into yet. Waking in the night, specifically between 2 and 4 in the morning, not from a nightmare, not from noise, from something quieter, a hand pressing gently on your chest, saying, "Pay attention, something is close." Old anger, not the sharp kind that flares and passes, the slow kind, the kind that rises quietly in idle moments and reminds you of something you accepted a long time ago that you should never have accepted, a compromise you made, a version of yourself you agreed to shrink into because the alternative felt too risky. Physical heat, tension in the jaw, tightness across the shoulders and the back of the neck, as though your body is preparing for something your mind has not yet been told about. A compulsion to speak, something building in your throat, a conversation you have been rehearsing in the back of your mind for weeks, maybe months. Words that keep forming and dissolving before they ever reach the air, and underneath all of it, something else, something harder to describe, a direction, not a destination, not a plan, just a pull, like a compass needle that has been spinning for years suddenly finding north. You don't have words for where it's pointing yet, but something in you, something below the level of thought, knows. These are not random symptoms. Mars has been in Pisces since March 2nd, the planet of fire, of action, of everything you are capable of doing and being, submerged in the deepest, most emotional, most spiritually charged sign in the Zodiac. For 10 days, your drive has had nowhere direct to go. The fire has been burning in water. The pressure has been building beneath the surface. Tomorrow, it finds its target. Let me tell you exactly what is physically, measurably happening above your head tomorrow. At 5:56 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, March 13th, Mars reaches exact conjunction with the north node of the moon at 8 degrees and 55 minutes of Pisces. The window of maximum intensity holds for exactly 30 minutes, from 5:56 to 6:26 p.m. Eastern, but the influence of this alignment has been building for days, and it will reverberate through the days that follow. Now, let me explain what the North Node actually is, because this is the part most people skip over, and it is the part that changes everything. The North Node is not a planet. It is not a body in space. It is a mathematical point, one of two places where the Moon's orbital path intersects the plane of Earth's orbit around the Sun, the point where the geometry of the solar system creates the conditions for eclipses, and across every civilization that ever built an observatory, ever pressed wet clay into tablets under lamplight, ever trained a child to watch the sky. This point was considered the most charged, the most volatile, the most consequential location in the entire celestial map. The Babylonians, who built the first systematic record of the heavens nearly 4,000 years ago, personified the North Node as the head of a celestial dragon, devouring, ambitious, insatiable. They called it the point of increase, the place where energy does not simply arrive, it multiplies, where whatever already exists in motion becomes amplified beyond what was possible before. When Mars, the warrior planet, the planet of fire and drive and directed action, makes exact contact with this point, it is like striking a match inside a room that has been filling with gas for months. Something ignites. This conjunction happens roughly once every 2 years. It is not common, and this specific conjunction, at this specific degree, in this specific sign, arrives on a day the entire world is already watching. Friday the 13th. That is not an accident. Let me tell you the truth about Friday the 13th, because the story you were told is not the original one. The number 13 was not always considered unlucky. In fact, for most of human history it was the opposite. The ancient Babylonians, the same astronomers who mapped the North Node, who named the planets after their gods, who pressed over 7,000 celestial omens into clay tablets, counted 13 lunar months in every solar year. The moon completes 13 full cycles for every single revolution of the Earth around the sun. 13 was the moon's number, the number of the tidal, the cyclical, the feminine, the number of the body's own rhythm, coded into every human being who has ever lived. And Friday. In almost every European language, Friday carries the name of a goddess. Vendredi in French, Viernes in Spanish. In English, Friday belongs to Frigg, the Norse goddess of wisdom, of fate, of the threads that connect one life to another. The Romans gave this day to Venus, the day of the goddess of love, of desire, of worth and value. So when the 13th falls on a Friday, these two ancient feminine forces arrive together. The moon's power and Venus's day aligned. What happened to that day? The deliberate, centuries-long process by which it became coded as cursed, as dangerous, as a day to fear, was not accidental. It was a suppression, a culture that needed to diminish the power of the cyclical, the tidal, the feminine, declared the day when those forces peaked to be a day of bad luck. And it worked. For centuries. But here's what that fear was actually pointing toward, not disaster. Intensity, the recognition, coded in the bones of human memory that something is different about this day, that the ordinary rules don't apply, that the veil between what is hidden and what is visible grows thin. Tomorrow, on the day the world calls unlucky, Mars, the warrior, walks directly into the point of fate. The fire meets the dragon's head on Venus's day. On the moon's number, this is not an unlucky day. This is the day the direction of your life stops being a question and becomes a compass point. Now, let me highlight something crucial that's being overlooked. Tomorrow's alignment is extraordinary, not just because of Mars and the North Node, but everything surrounding them. On March 3rd, we experienced the last total lunar eclipse before 2029, which illuminated 12 degrees of Virgo. For 58 minutes, the Earth obscured the moon, revealing the truths hidden in your life. This eclipse didn't create the turmoil. It simply brought it to light. Then, on March 10th, Jupiter, the largest planet, resumed direct motion after 4 months of retrograde, positioned at its most powerful degree in 12 years in Cancer. The energy that had been simmering is now pushing toward the surface. Now, 3 days later, Mars aligns with the North Node. This sequence is significant. The eclipse exposed what needed attention. Jupiter cleared the path, and tomorrow, Mars commands you to take action. But there's more. From March 14th to March 17th, Mercury, still retrograde, will align with these forces at the same degree. For the first time in years, Mars, Mercury, and the North Node will occupy 8 to 10 degrees of Pisces, simultaneously a rare triple conjunction of the warrior, the messenger, and the point of fate, all in the realm of dreams. Tomorrow's Mars North Node conjunction is just the beginning. It opens a corridor of transformation for the next 5 days that will reshape your inner world, whether you choose to engage or not. You are not merely at the edge of a moment. You stand at the threshold of profound change. Embrace it. Now let me bring this into your life, because the sky never speaks only in the abstract. It always lands somewhere specific. If you are a Pisces, this conjunction is happening inside your first house. Your identity, your sense of self, the version of you that you present to the world, and the version that exists in the private hours when no one is watching. Mars in the North Node in your sign means the universe is not asking anymore. It is pointing. The path you have been calling too risky, too unrealistic, too much like the person you used to dream of being. That path is not closed. You were simply not ready. Tomorrow, something in you becomes ready. Not because the circumstances change, because you do. If you are a Virgo, you feel this as a mirror held up from the opposite side of the sky. The pressure does not come from within, it comes from your relationships. Someone in your life, or the absence of someone, is carrying an energy that has been quietly shifting, and you have felt it without being able to name it. Tomorrow, the name arrives, not as a dramatic revelation, as a quiet, devastating clarity. The question is not what to do with it. The question is whether you have the courage to stop pretending you don't already know. If you are Sagittarius, Mars conjunct the North Node fires directly at your ambitions. The project that lives in a private folder on your phone. The vision that feels too large to announce. The direction that would require you to stop performing the version of yourself that everyone expects and start building the version that actually exists. Tomorrow it stops being a dream you're protecting and becomes a direction you're committed to. If you are a Gemini, this conjunction activates the foundation, something about where you're going, where you came from, or the voice of someone from your past that still echoes in the decisions you make today. Tomorrow, that voice either gets answered or gets set down. It cannot remain exactly where it has been. And for every sign, without exception, Mars conjunct the North Node is asking one question, not what do you want, not what are you afraid of. The only question that has ever mattered at a point of fate, what have you been waiting for permission to begin? Here is what I want you to do with tomorrow's window. Not a ceremony, not a ritual that requires preparation or equipment or the right phase of anything. 3 specific actions aligned to the 3 moments of this 24-hour window. Tonight, before you sleep, take a real piece of paper, not your phone, not a notes app. Paper, the kind your hand can press into, that holds the weight of the pen. And write at the top this sentence: the direction I have been too afraid to move in is. Then finish it without editing, without making it rational or responsible or explainable. Write the direction your body has been pulling toward, that your caution keeps overriding. If your hand wants to write something that surprises you, let it be surprised. The pen knows things the careful mind has been censoring. Fold the paper once, place it under your pillow. Let your dreaming mind carry it through the night. Because the night before a Mars North Node conjunction, the unconscious works. Dreams are not decoration at a moment like this. They are intelligence. Tomorrow, during the window, 5:56 to 6:26 p.m. Eastern. Even if you're at work, even if the only available moment is a quiet breath in a stairwell or a minute alone in your car, stop. Fully stop. Feel your feet against the ground. Take 3 slow breaths, not the performed kind, the honest kind. The kind of breathing you do before you say something true to someone you love, and then say this sentence, silently or aloud: I am ready to move in the direction I was made for. You do not need to know where it leads. Mars does not require a destination. Mars requires a first step. The North Node does not need a plan. It needs consent. That sentence is your consent. The morning after, March 14th, take the paper from under your pillow, read what you wrote. Then, beneath it, write this: the one action I can take today that moves me 1 inch in that direction is not the biggest action, not the bold declaration. 1 inch, the size of a single honest step. Mars conjunct the North Node does not ask for a grand gesture. It asks for honest momentum, and honest momentum sustained across days, is the only thing that has ever changed a life. 3 actions. 1 night. 1 moment. 1 morning. That is how fate gets activated, not through ceremony but through consent. Tomorrow is Friday the 13th, and somewhere above your head at 5:56 in the evening, Mars will find the North Node at 8 degrees and 55 minutes of Pisces. The warrior will find the dragon's head. Fire will find fate. In the dream waters of Pisces, the sign of the unconscious, of everything you feel but cannot yet name, these two forces will fuse, and for 30 minutes, the sky will hold open a doorway that it will not hold open again for 2 years. Most people will spend tomorrow holding their breath, avoiding ladders, waiting for the day to be over. They will walk through one of the most charged astrological windows of the year without ever knowing they were inside it. You won't, because you know now what Friday the 13th actually is. You know what the 13 was before fear got hold of it. You know what happens when the warrior meets the dragon's head in the sign of dreams on the goddess's day. This is not an unlucky day. This is the day the compass finds north. Think about where you were 2 years ago, the last time Mars made this contact. Think about who you were. Think about the direction you were facing, and the direction you are facing now. Something has been building in the space between those 2 moments. Something has been growing in the dark, the way all important things grow. Slowly, silently, without announcement. Tomorrow it surfaces, not to destroy you, not to punish the choices you made in the years between, but to show you, with a particular clarity that only fire can produce, exactly where you have been holding yourself back, exactly which wall you have been maintaining out of habit instead of truth, exactly which direction your soul has been pointing toward while your caution looked the other way. 9,000 years ago, Saturn and Neptune met at the 1st degree of Aries for the last time in recorded human history. 3 weeks ago they met there again. The sky declared a new cycle, the most fundamental reset of collective reality and living memory. The eclipse on March 3rd cracked the old structure open. Jupiter went direct on March 10th and said the path is clear, and now Mars arrives at the point of fate and asks the only question that has ever separated the people who lived from the people who watched. What are you going to do with the time you have left? Write 1 word in the comments. The word that describes what you have been waiting to begin. Just 1 word. The rest of the sentence is yours to write, with your life, with your choices, with the honest momentum of a single step taken tomorrow at 5,056 in the direction your body already knows. And if someone crossed your mind while you were listening to this, if a face surfaced, if a name arrived in you without warning, trust that. It was not random. The universe uses hands it can trust. Send them this tonight before the window opens. It may be the only signal they receive before they walk through tomorrow, not knowing what they step through. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Tomorrow night I will be here, in the aftermath of this conjunction, in the 72 hours after Mars hits its mark, to walk you through what just activated in you and what moves next in a sky that is building towards something none of us have language for yet. The universe has spoken. What comes next is in your hands.